extra, or do you find that people ask you to keep it in the box a lot?
It's really a combination. It totally depends on the project. This year, I recorded with a 60-piece orchestra in Nashville, and I also recorded the players in Los Angeles, which is so. But that was for Ryan at Universal Studios theme park, and that's really on top of that music. For Blood Drive, a lot of it was in the box. But that being said, the score was heavily synth, and I the guitar and the bass, which is a big part of the score as well. And then on top of that, I had live trumpet, opera singer for the Spaghetti Western episode, and I had a live cellist that there's a huge underneath all the gore and the seemingly salacious surface of Blood Drive. There's a ton of story, a ton of emotion, a ton of love underneath it all. So the cello was part of putting it all together.
Right. And working in so many different genres and sort of types of media, what do you have? What are some of the major differences you find between working on something like a ride versus a TV show, film, live music festival?
I think it's funny. I think like anything else, the fundamentals almost always stay the same. Whether you're working on a ride, or a TV show, or a film, or a short film, or even a TV commercial, you're there to help filmmakers tell the story. You're there to inform emotion. You're there to really. So I think for me, I bring that to.
And where do you start? Do you think about building character themes, or where do you start?
It's as far as where I start with something, it's different. It's almost different every time, and I think that's what keeps it fun and interesting. And sometimes it's a lot of times when you're writing whatever issue you're writing on, it's a huge impact on the writing. So if you hold up some long strings, for example, you might end up writing something a lot of notes, so sometimes it starts out with just finding the sounds that I want to use, and then let that really lead me down the path. And I'm very motivated, like leitmotif driven. So I've definitely established the theme, even just on piano first, and so much more control there.
Oh yeah. No, Michael, I'm curious. I understand with TV you have a much faster turnaround with a lot of other projects. And I've always been curious how composers you deal with potential of writer's block, and do you essentially ever have music where you say, that's not right for this episode, but I'm going to put it over in the maybe pile for something down the road that maybe I have a much shorter window to, or do you have to just literally throw it out every single one and start fresh for each episode?
I think because the turnarounds in TV are so fast, and they're becoming fast in film as well, because the metaphor I use is, or the analogy I use is like a relay race, and you're the last runner, you're the last one to get the baton as the composer. So you have to make up for every day they had one set, it's all over the press. So for me personally, that helps my writing, because you actually just don't have a choice. And it makes you very often just end up going with the first thing that comes to you, and I find that that's often the best thing. As far as stuff that doesn't get used, one thing about music, I think it's to your point, it ends up being used somewhere. It may be like 3 episodes later, this view didn't work out for this episode, but 3 episodes later, this would be perfect for that. So,
yeah, I was going to say, if you get a killer riff, it would be a shame to waste it.
It's never wasted effort.
Good.
I want to ask about Shark Week. How did you approach that? Are there certain instruments that you think of, like, I'm writing for sharks, so I'm going to use sort of classic, like the Jaws theme instruments, or did that play in at all, the idea of like what a shark is, or are you just writing pretty things?
Well, a couple things. So I've worked with Shark Week for some time, long enough that I've actually been in the water with white sharks. I've actually been in Shark Shark Week shows, and I know what it's like to write like from that kind of fear. Even though, I mean, and don't get me wrong, it's not to vilify sharks, as you know from watching documentaries, they really are not out for us. But I guess to answer your question about how would I approach writing for sharks, is that I look at them as characters just like anyone else. They're a character in the story. Even if you're writing for a documentary that's completely factual, it's still a story, and that's what it's always going to make you viewer in what's the story. And all the sharks that I support from Shark Week has been exactly that. The sharks are very often named, not to anthropomorphize them, but just to kind of give you a through line of the same shark, whether it's migration or what's happening with behavior. So I can give you more if you want on interpretation. Just that I've done 5 week Shark Week shows, and each time, like one time I've done like orchestral, recording a live orchestra. One of the more recent ones was all synth-based, and again, it's just back to story.
How do you approach instrument selection and knowing what you want to do for any given show?
I mean, sometimes, very often, I'll look at pictures or read the script. It's something that just comes to you. I mean, I love writing for brass. And with Blood Drive, when I started reading about the character of Grace, Femme Fatale, I immediately thought of the surf guitar, tremolo, like that she could walk away from the scene and have like a whip, and then just do that strum on the tremolo guitar, and that's exactly, it ended up working great picture. And for Arthur, the hero of the show, his theme is actually quite almost like fanfare from Hero Brass, but I reprise that on all kinds of different instruments.
And then when when the action's happening, you just ramp up the tempo.
Yeah, well, it's funny because a lot of times, yes, that is absolutely what's happening. The tempo gets kicked into high gear. But I'm finding what happens most often now is there's so much sound design and so many things happening in effects that sometimes when the action's happening, I'm actually pulling back on to let that sort of breathe, and just picking my moments to really get out there. I kind of look at the dialogue kind of like the lead vocal, and I'm the band. So.
That's a really good thing. It's really interesting.
Okay, so we got the wrap-up section. We got the wrap-up, but then no one came to retrieve you, so maybe we'll keep asking questions. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
I started doing singer-songwriter type stuff when I was 13 and got into high school. Started playing guitar and didn't have a lot of friends. Was in my attic a lot of the time and watching music videos and writing.
So all artists
songs.
start not having any friends.
And eventually, when I got to college, started a band and ended up touring around a little bit. And then after college, I needed a job, so I started bartending so I could still play gigs. And after that, the other band members kind of wanted to settle and start families and get real jobs, which I completely understood. But at that point, I was like, okay, I gotta figure out what else I really want to do at this point. So I looked into the USC film scoring program, and at that point, I really didn't know much about film music at all. So it's been an incredible journey for the course of the last 10, 11 years at this point.
How did you break into you graduated from your program,
Yep.
and then how do you get started in this field?
I was very fortunate in getting connected with another composer named Christoph Beck, who's
Frozen.
Yes, exactly. So he was looking for an assistant right at the same time as I was graduating, and it was a very good fit between us. So I ended up spending almost 8 years starting out as an assistant, doing menial or technology work or whatnot, and that eventually grew into some additional writing, and it was an 8-year mentorship, and I'm very grateful for that time, and I learned a lot and got to be part of Frozen.
So when you spend so much much time working with someone who you're sort of following their creative vision and supporting that. How is the transition into being the sort of leading creative force behind a piece of music?
Yeah, it's funny. While I was working for him, doing some additional music, he would then review it to sound like him, of course, and he'd say, "That's a Jakeism. Get away from that, and make it sound more like me. Do this, that, the other thing." And so I would always hold on to my Jakeisms, and now I can use them freely in the projects that I'm working with. But I learned a great deal from him, so I'm grateful for that time.
So I'm curious, animation to live action.
Yes.
Do you find one more challenge? Which one do you find more challenging? Which one is more satisfying?
Both have their own challenges and satisfactions to them. In terms of the style of writing, I think animation is probably more challenging. You're hitting or commenting or acknowledging the things that are happening visually much more often with a lot of these shows. So with live action, a lot of the time you can kind of just set a tone in a live action piece, as opposed to being so busy and always moving and kind of keeping things going. Whereas with animation, it's you got to keep stuff going, and there's no reusing the same piece of music because everything that you're writing music to is different for every episode. Dino Trucks is incredibly musically satisfying to me. Every episode is a 23-minute mini movie, and they are treated very cinematically. It's long story arcs. They're 2, 3, 4, 5-minute views as opposed to little 10, 15-second stingers that are commenting on a fast-paced comedy. Not to say that that's not satisfying. I think it makes the comedy funnier as it is filmed, but yeah, they have their ups and downs.
Thank you.
When you're working on something like Piper that doesn't have any dialogue and the music is really telling the entire audio story, how do you approach carrying what I would interpret as a lot more weight into storytelling?
It really is all about that, just storytelling and what is Piper thinking or feeling the entire time you are with him, you are in his point of view. And he has crazy emotions. He's either scared to death, or like the wave is coming, or has this just amazing celebratory part at the end. Working with the composer Adrian Ballou, he had a lot of really great ideas that he had put together for the theme. And when I came in, it was just a matter of kind of organizing a couple things and smoothing out a lot of transitions and really kind of honing in and making the sonic palette of it all feel a little bit more cohesive.
Okay, so I have a couple questions. So you grew up in New Jersey?
Yes.
Where?
Exiting.
Okay, so 105 or 117, depending on. I grew up in Middletown, that area.
Yeah. I was freehold in Manalapan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to move to Manalapan when I was younger, but then we came out here.
Right.
So I've been here since. I just figured I'd ask that, break it up a bit, because I was like, oh, I saw Jersey.
Oh, I love it.
I don't see a lot of Jersey people. So, yeah. So that was my Sorry. What are my fellow Jerseyans? I have to talk to them.
I want to ask you about orchestrating as a job. When a composer hands you a piece that's sort of mostly a melody, how do you approach orchestrating it and really pulling out all of the sort of undercurrent themes, the harmonies to that, while staying really true to that original melody?
Breaking it, depending on how it's delivered to me, if it's, I tend to break it down first, just to what is the melody and what is the progression. It doesn't matter what it's played on. Like this is what it is. Here's where it's big, and then here's where it's small. And it's finding the contour and the shape of the melody as applied to the story that we're telling. From there, it's about finding what sounds are really working in the visual. In Piper, for instance, we used a lot of marimba and mallet just to kind of, it's light and it's cute and it gives a nice pulse to it without being too abrasive. So the idea that I brought you into that was that to kind of be the motor, the undercurrent to the piece, and then just incorporating the orchestra kind of on top of that to take over the melodies, or providing counter melodies, or a reharmonization in order to get a different feeling when it's either going to be really bright or we get to that scary part.
And what's it like working with directors? How much guidance do you get?
Totally project dependent. I have worked with some that are so easygoing and really just trust in you to do what you do and what they hired you to do. And of course there are always comments, but they're more macro comments of, I want to feel the emotion of this character versus playing the emotion of, the scene in general. Like, I want to be inside her head. Notes like that, like, again, storytelling notes, and those make so much sense to me. When we get to, other people that may be more hyper-focused on the smaller, little incremental things, this can be a little bit more difficult.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you can go ahead if you have another.
I think I was going to just follow up on the inspiration aspect of things.
Yeah.
You're sitting there, they hand you a project, they basically say, what would be a typical turnaround time for you?
For each of these animated shows, typical turnaround time is about 2 weeks. From the time I get it until the first presentation, where I have to have everything completed. And then after that, it's about another week before I'll get notes, and then I have to turn around another version, and then in a couple days later, it's going to the dub stage to get dropped in. They're not locking their animation until about a month before, and so they're handing me, that locked cut. They're handing me sound effects editors that locked cut, and so we're all working in tandem. We have no idea what each other are doing, though.
Right.
So when it finally gets to the dub stage, then now they're kind of going through and figuring out what's going to work and what's not, and how it's going to actually come together and play.
So it's 3 weeks for about 25 minutes of music, or?
Yeah, for Dino Trucks, it's wall to wall. It's about 22 minutes per episode. Scooby was about 14 to 15. So it's a lot of music.
Yeah, I would say that seems a little stressful too, because if you're thinking about it, okay, you kind of don't. I mean, how much do you
Can't think
get?
about it. Yeah.
That's the only
No.
thing I can.
No,
What would you do? I would lose my.
That's it. It really, starting out a TV show is a little bit tough. You have to really find the tone, and those first 2 episodes are challenging. Once you do that, you just kind of gotta run with your gut instincts and just trust that what you're gonna do is.
Right. Now, do they give you at least some of like the plots of the future? I'm sure they have a bunch written out, so obviously.
They do, and if things are going to play into each other, Scooby was very much a one-off type thing. However, Dino Trucks has large seasonal story arcs, so I needed to know that in episode 1 of season 3, that character Splitter was going to eventually team up with the character that we met in episode 6, Blade, who meets up with Pounder and 10 to all form together. How are all of their themes going to eventually overlap and interact with one another to create like the bad guy team that is formed by the end of that season?
And I'm sure because you are just saying it's a long time, do you ever just have things that you maybe thought of in the back of your head or written years ago where you're like, what, I could just use
Absolutely.
this? So it kind of makes this, not that it's easy at all, but I feel like that might be.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like a full piece, but maybe a device. And I'll use that tool in order to then build the piece of music that I'm working on. So maybe I'll take like one little idea and I will just elaborate, develop, and take it to the next step.
Because I don't know about anything else, but if I had to, that would not be the job for me because I would be focusing on, oh my God, we have this done, and that would just be. So, but thank you because the music that you've done.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you because we enjoyed this. Okay.
Or whatever in that. All right.
This way.
Yeah, trying to get an angle
No,
here.
that's not good. You can just start.
Well, you could do, you could set it up like that, yeah.
No, that's not good.
Who am I talking to? Am I talking to you?
You can, no, you're talking to
Oh, okay,
You're
cool.
talking to everybody.
that way
Okay.
and
All right. So production design.
Yes, non-stop craziness.
Yeah. So you come in pretty early in a process, right?
Pretty early. When I get hired for a job, it's a script. It's sometimes the director, sometimes not. And it's 30 scenes that need to be conceived, conceptualized, pitched, budgeted, drawn out, sketch up, built, and on set. So I come in the process of, we have this script and we sold it. It's a paranormal type show, but go. And so I then have to come up with big mood boards and packets and cool drawings and research. And then essentially I have to pitch this whole world visually to the director, to the network, so they can sign off, pitch it to the executives, to the showrunner, and say, this is how, working with the director and working with the writer, this is how we see this show looking. And you sit there and you go, please love it, please just love it. And they do, and they say, we love this, go for it. And now, the hard part starts, where you then, those are all just images that you pulled off of Google Image, or you got out of a book or something like that. Now you have to figure out, where's the location that we're shooting this? How much budget do we have to build this as a set? So we're building the sets, we're painting them, we're scenicking them, we're getting them shot, we're striking them, we're moving on to the next thing. We're doing it within a budget, and a crazy time constraint. Like, you would think when people watch shows and they hear, they had a $100 million budget. That's nothing, because what they want is a $300 million looking project, but they'll give you $100 million. So that's sort of the craziness of my life.
How do you accomplish that though? So you've had a proposal accepted, and then you're given a budget that, like, realistically you shouldn't be able to provide that for that amount of money. What do you do?
It's all about the team. So without the art department, I'm sort of like a guy with some ideas and a moleskin and can like pitch ideas and go like that a lot. But when I start a project, I hire my art director, my set decorator, my graphic designer, my set designer, prop master, graphic designers, scenic artists, researchers, coordinators who keep track of the budget. So all of those people together, like when you look at the credits of the art department, when all of those people come together, it's me going, I have this great idea, and here's a sketch of the pirate shanty on Key and Peele, and we'll have some barrels, and there'll be some burlap, and we'll put it like this. And then my art director is then, and set designer is taking that and putting it into SketchUp and figuring out, okay, here's how it's going to be built, here's the elements we need, here's how it breaks apart. The set decorator is finding all the pieces of dressing that are going on it. The scenic painters and the construction guys are building it, making it all happen. The lead men and the construction crew are taking it to stage and building it. The scenic painters are coming in and adding aging, and special effects is adding cobweb. And then lighting shows up, and then the director shows up, and then the costumes show up. So we're ahead of the game. We're ahead of everybody else, so that when they come to set at 7 a.m., everything's there and ready to go and ready to be shot. So to answer your question, it takes my team on any given show. At Key and Peele, I had 30 people in the art department. On Ghosted, maybe 35, 40. There's shows that I've done for Amazon where there's been 75 people in the art department. And every single person has a extreme skill of what they do and what they bring to the table. So I don't do it alone.
Something like Key and Peele must be a particular challenge because every location is a completely different world. Every 5 minutes?
Yeah, every 3.5 minutes for a sketch.
Yeah. So how do you do all of that in such a short amount of time?
So on Key and Peele, when I would start a season, they would have 80 sketches already written, and so it was a binder this big, and within every sketch there was 3 or 4 scenes. So that, I'm not good at math, but that's a lot of stuff that you're going to do in 7 weeks. So we would shoot an entire season, 86 sketches of Key and Peele in 7 weeks, sometimes 6. And so what you would do is you would do tons of research. You start doing all the drawings. You get the budgets approved, and we would go to a sound stage. And if you can imagine a big sound stage, and I would build 5 of those sets in one sound stage. So in the morning, you'd shoot the aerobics workout. And then after lunch, you'd move and you'd shoot Obama and Luther. And then that's Monday. Tuesday, those sets are now struck and being brought back to the shop, and we're shooting the next 2. And then we'd go out and shoot on a location, and then we'd come back in. So the way it was done was they didn't get more than they needed. It was, they got what we could afford, but what we could afford we made look as cinematic. And like we just pretended we were working on Wonder Woman or Game of Thrones. But instead of like a massive Wonder Woman, it's like the Wonder Woman set was 30 feet long. That's it, that's all you got. And it looks great, but no bigger.
How much collaboration and guidance do you have with the director and the creators that you're working with? Yeah.
Tons. So on Key and Peele, the director's name was Peter Atencio, and he was sort of the brainchild of the look of Key and Peele. So at that time, when you thought of sketch comedy shows, you thought, it doesn't matter what it looks like. They could be ugly as long as they're funny. And Peter's vision was, I'm going to make a sketch comedy show that looks like features. And brought the team on of DPs and costume designers and production designers and all these people who had the same aesthetic and belief in that. And don't get me wrong, it's a fight. Don't forget, when you're starting a TV show, it's very easy for the network to say, well, we're not going to give you a lot of budget, we're not going to give you a lot of time, and it doesn't matter what it looks like as long as it's funny. And we're like, it can be funny and it can be badass. And so when you watch Key and Peele, it's really the director and the DP, the costumes and the production designer, and the writing saying, we're not working on a sketch comedy show. We're working on a feature. To answer your question, it very much comes from the top, and once you have permission from your boss, you run with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And production design is one of those sort of categories of the Oscars, right? That your average viewer at home goes, I don't know what that is.
Right.
What would you say is the most?
By the way, they're having so much more fun at this end table.
I know.
Yeah, but that's okay. We can let's. By the way,
fun.
what we should do is we should just
Laugh.
all of a sudden, like 3, 2, 1, laugh really hard. And everybody watch. Yeah, we should do it. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Nobody cared.
Oh, that's your shot. Okay.
Okay. So, because production design is the sort of thing that the sort of average viewer doesn't quite understand, what would you say is the most important aspect of it that you think that the average viewer would benefit from understanding?
Okay, yeah, well, I mean, the truth is, I've been doing this for so long, nobody knows what I do. When I go to a barbecue or a party or I see family, what does the art department do? Why? I thought all those sets existed. So when you hear someone say, or when you're watching a movie or a TV show, and you're like, oh, that must have existed where they're shooting, not only doesn't exist, and didn't exist before they shot that day, but 9 times out of 10, it's a set on a soundstage because every wall that you see needs to come away, and the crew needs to go there and shoot that shot, and then that wall needs to come back in. They need to pull that wall. The camera needs to go over there and shoot this way. So what the art department does is they take a script that says interior house, they visualize it, they get it approved, they build it, they dress it, they shoot it, they strike it, and then they're on to the next set the next day. And without the art department, everybody would be standing around on an empty soundstage. So that's what the art department does.
So I'm curious about something in your industry. With the rise of CGI, how do you balance the practical sets versus CGI? Because I would think, isn't CGI a little easier if they say, to revise it? Isn't it a bit easier to change the code around than to have to scrap and build from
Right. Well, about 5 years I was worried about. 5 years ago I was worried about that. I thought, I'm a production designer who builds sets out of wood and glue-on and paint and like builds practical things. And I thought that maybe CGI was something that was going to hurt my industry. And the truth is, all it does is enhance what the vision that we've already created. So, for example, on a show like Ghosted that's coming up this fall, or Key and Peele, or Workaholics, or any of the shows that I do, I still have to come up with the design. We still have to build the foundation, figure out the colors, figure out the palette, figure out what the look will be. We have to still build what the actors are interacting with, the foreground. So if someone in the VFX department says, you can build a set that's 30 feet, and it all comes out of your mind, and it looks amazing, and I can come in and post and make it 300 feet, that just makes me look better.
Right.
Because you're watching it at home or in the movie theater, and you don't know where my job ended and what was real and what was CGI in post. And so I work closely with all the VFX departments, and it's sort of like a bit of a hot potato of like, do you want to do it? Or do I want to build it? And it'll go back and forth. Like, should we build? So, quickly, do we have time? I could tell you a quick story.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
in Ghosted, which is a new show on Fox that premieres in October, there's a scene in the trailer that's online now where the guy takes his head off and they run around with the decapitated head. And the script says they peer into a room and a man removes his head. Then it says they run down the hallway holding the head while it's screaming. So we had dozens of meetings with the VFX department and the art department to figure out who is doing what. Now, if you're lazy, you could say, well, let VFX do it. But the art department wants to have their say too. So what happened was we cast the guy, we did a mold of his head, we figured out how the lighting would all come out of the bottom of his head, we figured out that we would build a table like this and cut a hole in it, and the actor could be inside for the scenes that he needed to be, old school, like Houdini style, and there's a head talking on the thing. But then when they pick it up, it's CGI, right? But then when they're running with it, we put the actor in a green screen suit. He was kneeling on a dolly. Adam Scott was running with him while he was screening. And VFX, what do? They paint out the body, they paint out the dolly, and it looks amazing. So to me, it's a hand-in-hand collaborative thing where it makes the art department look good and we make VFX look good.
That's a very creative and practical solution of what would be a very complicated problem on paper. That's great.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so that's sort of my life.
That's cool. Thank you.
Cool.
Awesome.
I think we're done,
Thank you so much.
right?
Yeah, we got the wrap up.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sitting over there would be awesome. Very diplomatic.
So I had a question. I wanted to start off and ask you about Star Wars Detours.
First of all, tell me about you.
Sorry. Go ahead. You go first.
We run a website called My Entertainment World. We have 7 branches of arts criticism, TV, film, games, books, music, sports, and theater. I think that was 7. And that's sort of it.
And your names are?
Oh, I'm Kelly.
Kelly.
And
Thanks, Steve.
I'm Gareth.
Garrett.
Yes.
The TH.
Yes.
And
Most
I'm-
people do not get that. They stop at the T.
Yeah. Well, what can you do?
It's kind of neat.
And let's see, I have a couple of websites, games, TV, pop culture, and we have a magazine, and then I also do a segment on a radio show out of Seattle, and 6 newspapers in the Phoenix area. So
Fantastic.
That's keeps us busy.
Each of you has their separate recording device here. Okay, great. I mean, not to be too stage managery, but do you want to move it closer to me so you get better audio? I'm always interested.
No problem. It's usually pretty good, but I'm absolutely
This is
happy.
why I always sit next to the people, because I'd rather have a side angle and good audio than anything else. All right, Kelly, start.
So I was going to ask about Star Wars Detours. It's can you tell us what's going on? Because the last I heard, it was kind of in limbo.
It's funny, I was just talking about it. As far as I know, it's still in limbo, and every time I run into Seth Green, he says, oh, I think it's going to be out soon. And every time I run into Matt Seinreich, he's like, yes, Seth is an optimist. And so, I don't know. It's for those who don't know, Seth, both of Seth and Matt and Seth MacFarlane worked on Star Wars Detours, which is the funniest parody of Star Wars you've ever seen, directed by Todd Grimes, who did an amazing job. Great cast, pretty good music, I might say, including song parodies. We did a parody of the Monkees at one point called the Modals, and I'm friends with Peter Tork from the Monkees, so I played it for him. He liked it. But at any rate, it's I'm hoping at some point they will feel that it is not too scary. Disney's a little frightened of things that make fun of Star Wars, and this definitely does.
Yeah. But what I saw and loved, I thought it was fantastic.
It's great. I mean, I really, I'm up for leading a march on Burbank.
When you're doing something like that, that's a parody of something that has one of the most iconic scores of all time, is that theme in your head at all when you're composing?
Well, there's some practical reasons why you don't want to do too much of the original, because among other things we had to get permission. But it's also, it had its own character. After initially it winks to John Williams, because of course you must, but they're really just winks, and a lot of times it's subverting the idea more than expressing this.
Do you have any questions?
Oh, that was mainly it. I was going to ask about the John Williams aspect of it, because it's such, how do we put it? It's hard to think of Star Wars without those iconic cutscenes and everything like that. And it must be, but when you're doing a parody, it's got to be tough to basically keep the same tone and theme, but do music that's appropriate for a parody setting rather than drama or action.
Well, in this, because this is a cartoon, and there was a fair amount of license to get kooky. And now the music always, in a comedy, ironically, the music really needs to be the straight man, because otherwise, if it goes, hey, this is funny, you just undermine the joke. So it's very important that it be done from the viewpoint of the characters. But the characters are not really the same as the original characters. Darth Vader is in Star Wars Detours is a needy, dependent, codependent of the Emperor, who is just loves torturing him more than anything else. And so in each case, and the Princess Leia is this spoiled brat, and so you really have to do things from the viewpoint of what the character depicted is, not what their source is of. I'm not scoring Darth Vader from the movies. I'm scoring the Darth Vader who's in the cartoon.
Sure.
I'm really interested in the idea of working with directors and creators in general.
Yeah.
How much of their creative vision is explained to you, and how much guidance are you given before you are starting your process?
Well, the answer is as much as you can possibly get them to tell you you want to. However, some people are more expressive than others, and some are also there's always a problem, which is that oftentimes the composer is brought in very late in the process, and so everybody else already knows all these things that are completely implicit, and that are not, and they don't tell you them because, well, of course, everybody knows that, and so that's one of the reasons I love being involved in projects early on. I'd much rather start writing music when there's a script rather than before the finished footage. Anything to get there. Resident Evil, for example, people have said, well, how did you wrote the song to the game. I didn't see the game until after it was released. They were still working on it when I started working on the music, on the theme song, and I was given storyboard and script, and it's actually a great way to work because you get to the heart of the story, which is what you're doing as a composer in media, is you're supporting story. You're not there to make great music. You're there to make a great story.
Right.
Now,
Where,
you can make great music.
where do you start when you're approaching making something that reflects the story? You work on character themes or sort of tonal themes?
Well, I think it comes from the inside out, and really try to figure out what is it that the story is about. Stories always have characters, and what is that character's journey? And if there's a single protagonist, you work from that. If there are multiple protagonists, then you try to figure out what do they have in common, what do they share, and that's the starting point, and that conceptualization is one of the most difficult parts of it, because that's the part you got to get right, or nothing else matters.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to ask about the Resident Evil. How would you say scoring for video game compared to your past projects?
Well, to be
Challenging,
clear,
easy? Oh, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, to be clear, I did not score Resident Evil. I wrote the theme song.
Right, I understand.
And so, it is, look, it's all ultimately story, whether it's a 30-second commercial or whether it's a video game that has 10 hours of music that has been layered in such ways that you can, depending upon which direction you go, you end up with something different. There are mechanical differences for sure, and but they all ultimately, the mechanics are kind of, ironically the easiest part of the job. Making a hit work is not hard. Making it be the right feeling for what the scene is what the job really is.
Thank you.
Can you explain your role with the Emmys? What is exactly a governor of the Television Academy?
As soon as I find out, I'll let you know. No, there are two governors from every peer group in the Television Academy. There are, I believe, 29 peer groups now. We just added one recently, which was choreography. And we have a number of different jobs, one of which is really simply deciding rules, because television is in this tremendous set of flux right now. And even defining what television is something that's changed tremendously in the last 10 or 15 years. And so that's part of the job of the governors, to represent the interests of your peer group. I'm a governor of the music peer group. That includes composers and songwriters and music directors and music supervisors most recently. And so in each case, we're advancing what their interests are. My fellow governor, Ricky Minor, who is the music director for American Idol most famously, but for Stevie Wonder, you name it. This was Stevie Wonder's wedding the other day, and the music directed that. But Ricky and I put together a concert called Words and Music that was just a week ago at the Television Academy, and it was music from over a dozen of the most exciting contemporary television shows, both scores and songs.
Very interesting. So you're a voting member of the Academy?
Of the Television Academy.
Oh, yes. So what do you look for when you're looking to reward a composer's work? Like, what do you think makes a really great score?
Well, does it support the story? I mean, I'm sounding a little bit like a broken record here. Ooh, they don't have those anymore. Oh, yes, they do. Yes, vinyl's back.
They're back, yeah.
But at any rate, I think that you can have very complex scores, like somebody like Elliot Goldenthal or John Grigliano will write very complex music. You can have really, really simple stuff, like Cliff Martinez does beautiful minimalist stuff, and Carter Burwell's another one who I admire in terms of minimalism. And in television, Dave Porter, I think, is one of the somebody really underappreciated. He did Better Call Saul, and now does. Originally did Breaking Bad and does Better Call Saul. Sometimes Dave does something where he's got like 2 notes for an entire scene, but it's the right 2 notes and the right sound. So really, it's whatever supports the story, and I feel that those are the people I admire.
And we got the wrap-up signal, but I just want to ask, what's your all-time favorite score?
Ooh, that's too hard.
They all say Indiana Jones to give you. Everybody has
Is that
to
yours?
say. No, but that's what composers almost always say. Oh, I love the Social Network score, I will say. Yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like it flies against the script. The script is very flowery and very romanticized, and it's so bare bones and cold, and I think that it complements Sorkin's work really
No,
well.
I think Fred and Atticus are doing a great job. Both, and I like all their work. What's your favorite score?
You know, it goes between either Vangelis's Blade Runner or I still like the original Jaws score. I think
They're
that's
both great
just
scores.
yeah.
You know, Vangelis was such a great synthesizer orchestrator that you listen to Blade Runner now and it still holds up. Most of the synth scores in that era sound freaky, and that score really works now. I guess if you put a gun to my head and I had to choose one, because there's so many that I love, dating back to when I was a kid and I fell in love with Dr. Zhivago and this and that. But probably, this is maybe an odd one, Gattaca by Michael Nyman. I just think he so captured what the struggle of the Ethan Hawke character was in that, and it's a beautiful mixture of romanticism and minimalism, and that's one of my favorites. Cliff Martinez is a buddy. I love kind of anything that Cliff does, but I'd say that Solaris may be my favorite of Cliff's. There are others that, of course, all of Hans Zimmer's scores that I worked on, I'm partial to because, kind of.
Did you work on Gladiator?
I didn't. That was before my time.
Score.
It's a great score. I love what Lisa contributed to it as well, Lisa Gerard. And I think that may be one of Hans's best scores. That and Thin Red Line, which is often not known to the public, but is used as one of he has a piece called Journey to the Line from Thin Red Line, one of the most tempting pieces of music in the film business. But so many. I like a lot of composers people don't know about or don't think about as being film composers. Mark Suazo, who does all of the music for did Metropolitan and Barcelona and all these other Whit Stillman films. I think John Bryan does brilliant stuff. It doesn't sound like anybody other than John Bryan. And I'm sure now that I'm running out of my mouth, there's so many that I'm going to say, oh, why didn't I say that guy? But I really feel like the people who communicate the stories. I'm going back to Bernard Herrmann and all the people who laid the groundwork. Jerry, so there's so many great people who contributed something that we all steal from.
Great, of course. All right, we got the wrap-up signal ages ago.